All right, we are recording right now. People are still joining, but welcome to the ones that are here. Some of you or most of you probably may know us or heard of us, but if you haven't, we're coaching Agile Journeys, and occasionally we put together a really good speaker or a really good event, and we try to do it for the community, keep the community connected. There's always better ways of doing things, new approaches, and we started this 4 years, maybe a little bit longer ago. And the great news is it's always something new. It's always something different. It's always a different approach. I helped launch this, and all the time I'm learning something new. So that's what it's all about, and it's all about sharing as a community and connecting as a community. Today, we're thankful to have John Albrecht here to present and do that for us. But we can't have any of this without any type of funding, and this is all voluntary for us. So we actually do have little spots here on our site somewhere that you're seeing on the screen that you could actually buy us a coffee, and we use any donation to help keep this going. So if you like what we do and want to throw us a couple dollars to help keep it going, it does cost us a good bit of our own money out of pocket to keep the tooling going for these events. We are also part of the Open Space Network or Open Leadership Network. You could check them out at openleadershipnetwork.com. Speaking of which, next week we are going to have a live virtual open, or June 4th, Thursday, June 4th, later this week.
Thursday.
Thursday. We're going to have a live open space here, Thinking with Change and Thriving with Change. So this open space will be a really good experience for you to get involved with and participate in a virtual open space. As you can see, there's a virtual mailing list. I think Isaac's worked on some sort of a newsletter, and we're also going to try to produce as much new content as we can. We do have a podcast, some old episodes out there, looking to produce some new ones. So we are always trying to find new ways to produce content and give you guys some added value for what's coming up, or new approaches that are out there, things to help you with your everyday job or your career, or even personal growth. Moving into this, we're going to hand this over in just a second to John Albrecht. One of the things that you'll see in the chat is we do have a group of leaders here at Coaching Agile Journeys. They'll be in the chat, chatting around. Heidi, Isaac, Lori, Kristen, Mark, those are leaders that we have here, and they'll help keep the conversation going, and they help with the tooling. And, you know, it takes a village of us to keep this thing running, and we're here to do it for you guys. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to John Albrecht, who has a very intriguing topic for us, and it's Where Have All the Settlers Gone? I'm sure you're going to like this. We do pre-screens with all of our speakers, and John was a great personality, brought this brilliant topic forward, and we thought you guys would absolutely love it. So John, I will let you kick this off and take us into it.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, cool. Is that coming up?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, so I've got a little talk, Where Have All the Settlers Gone?, which is a talk about my experience of going into organizations and sort of discovering that sort of everything's the same but different. I seem to go into organizations over the past 15 years, and what I see is very similar but different. And I was wondering why that was. And I came up with a talk, which was Where Have All the Settlers Gone?, which is a sort of a little bit on Wardley mapping and sort of explanation of it. And a mate said, I don't think that's all it. I think there's a bit more to it. So I started diving in deeper into psychology, into transactional analysis and a number of different psychological models. And that's this first talk. So what we've got for you today is 2 talks in one with breakout sessions. So we're going to explore a number of psychological models, some of the theory behind some things, some of the stuff I've learned over the last couple of years, last year or so. And then from those models, sort of take it into the second part of the talk, which is sort of a little bit of a dive into what's happening within organizations and why are they so similar but so different, what's going on. So without further ado, I'll go forwards. So as I was saying, over the years, it's always felt like a beach. It's felt like there's like waves on the sand. And when I started doing this agile stuff back in 2003, 2004, it felt like I was in the sea. It felt like I was sort of I was doing stuff and I was the crazy loon in the sea, and there were sort of traditional folks on the land, and we'd do a bit of agile, it would kind of work, and then we'd sort of be pushed back into the ocean. And it was like ebb and flow backwards and forwards. And a boss of mine at the time said, that's changed, that's what happens. It's sort of, it just goes backwards and forwards. It'll come back to you, it'll come back to you. And over the years, I've continued to see that. I've continued to see that sort of backwards and forwards motion. But now it feels like I'm on dry land to a certain extent, and I wonder who's in the ocean. So I've got a question to the group. Has it ever felt like the organization, another team, or perhaps an individual was working against you? I was going to try and open this up and see if anyone had sort of experienced that at all.
Lots of statements coming across the chat. Yes, continuously, 100%, all three. And
Okay.
for myself, I could say so as well. So I think we're almost unanimous here.
Yeah, interesting. What about today? Has that happened to anyone today?
Day is still young for me, not yet.
Not yet, no. Okay, cool. So it happens. It sort of, it feels like sometimes we're sort of doing stuff, but sometimes people are working against us. So if it's okay with you guys, I would like to break us up into groups of 3 or 4. And if you could open up this Jamboard here, or even just discuss as a group and sort of discuss why this is the case. Why does it sometimes feel like people are working against you? And write down those possible reasons, and we'll maybe give it a few minutes. If I could just request that we're sort of broken up into into smaller groups to just talk it through, that'd be cool.
I have a view only, and thanks for posting that link. Let's see.
I can manage the breakout rooms. About how many people do we want in each room? Do we want to put 6 to 7? So break up into 4 rooms, or
Yeah,
is
into 4
that
rooms.
about right? About 4 rooms? Okay.
Yeah. 4 or 5 rooms. So that.
Let's create those. Open up the rooms. There we are, and then broadcast message to all. Oh, there we go. People are going to their rooms. Let's see. So there we go. Got a few people still here. If you're still here, we've went ahead and opened up the breakout rooms. So you can jump into one if you want to. Or you can stay here with me. Hey there, John. We just went into breakout rooms, so I'm going to go ahead and assign you to a breakout room so you can join them in their conversation.
Okay.
Let me send you out
Thanks.
there. Yeah, no problem. Hi, Lori. Oh, there you are. Connecting. Hi. We just jumped into breakout rooms, so I will send you into one. Let me see. I've got Heidi in this one. Kristen's in that one. I will send you to breakout room 4. I don't think we have anybody there, so you can join the conversation there.
Okay.
All right. Right. And Ashwarya? Hi, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and assign you to a room. We're in breakout rooms right now. So let me send you to go to breakout room 1. There you go. Is everybody here able to join their breakout room? Anybody need to be reassigned? Just see Diane, Phil, and Deepak. All right, well, if you guys get this, you were assigned to a breakout room, feel free to jump over to it. Hi there, welcome. We're in breakout rooms right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and assign you to a room and you can jump in with them and join their conversation in progress.
Yeah,
Welcome.
a second.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We should see a big influx of people coming back here in 10 seconds. And the board's still up, so I'm sure we'll process through that. So 3 seconds, John, and all the rooms will close. Everyone's staying in until the last possible second. Here we go. They all came back. All right, John, all yours.
Let's unmute myself. Awesome, thank you. Can you see my screen? How is
Yeah,
that?
I can see.
How is that?
Can't see your screen, John, but our chats were great.
Yeah, okay, cool. So what do we come up with? We got fear of the unknown, Cassandra complex, doing things that people don't believe in, differentiating opinions, siloed departments, people not buying in, experiences that you don't have, loss of face, fear, competition, lack of idea promoted. Yeah, how were the chats? How were the breakout sessions?
Great.
Okay, cool. So lots of communication stuff. There are lots of differences. I'm just going to try and flip back to the PowerPoint and keep on going, if that's okay with everyone. Okay, cool. So yeah, there are lots of reasons. Oh, it's not working. Resume slideshow. Okay, here we go. Okay, cool. Why? Yeah, lots of reasons.
We can't see your screen, John.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me try it again. Share screen. There we go. Okay, cool. Can you see now?
Yes, now
Okay,
it's popping up. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So okay, hang on. I've got all sorts of gremlins going on here with the computer. So, okay, cool. So lots of different reasons, all relying around communication and all things we have experienced in varying and all the stuff we navigate. So now I'm going to try and dive into some of the models, some of the psychological models that sort of I've learned sort of kind of explain a little bit of this. And I'm just wondering, I'm going to wonder if you spot any of these things as well. So there's a bloke called Voltaire, and in 1764, he said it's sometimes said that common sense is very rare. And what he meant by this is quite interesting. I find interesting. Common sense is rare based on how dogmatic you are. So the more opinionated you are, the less you see everyone else as sensible, and the more you see them as wrong. So common sense and dogma are related. So the more opinionated you are, the less you see others as common sense. And it's a thing you see in politics. It's the thing you see all over the place. People who are really, really strongly opinionated, they don't think the same of things outside them. Another thing I've noticed seems to be the things that we're also strong at also are weaknesses. There's a bit of a Johari window thing going on. The stuff that we think we're strong at, we also seem to not be strong at as well. There's a duality to things that I've noticed. Things I'm strong at, I maybe not as strong at, and the things that I see other people are strong at, they're not strong at. And there's like two sides to everything. And I think balance and perspective play a part. I think it's really important. I think this came up in our breakout session a bit. It's a matter of the opinion of kind of who wrote what and sort of what your perspective is. So you can read Star Wars as Star Wars, or you could read Star Wars from the alternate point of view. It depends who wrote the story. Everything is a matter of perspective. So back to that beach, my perspective is I'm on the beach and other people in the water. Someone else's perspective of the situation will be very different. They have a completely different view of what's going on. Yeah, it's interesting. Another model I find really interesting, although it sort of doesn't really line with this talk, is Freud's rider and the horse. And he's painted a picture of the rider and the horse. And the rider and the horse is a combination. It's a metaphor for the brain and how the human brain works. So the logical brain, the ego, is sat upon a very powerful horse, the ID. And when we are frightened, when we are triggered, our rider falls off the horse. Our rider is detached from the horse, and our horse is going around and it's trampling everyone and it's causing all things. It's in fight, flight, or flee. But when we're in these states, when we see others in these states, we try and use logic. We try and use our rider to talk to our horse, and it has no effect whatsoever. It's just your horse is all over the place. And this metaphor of the brain is sort of also in the structure of the brain. We have the logical on the outside, and we have this horse, we have this prehistoric brain underneath. So whenever you see someone, be it yourself or someone else, triggered, remember, it's difficult because you're triggered, remember that your rider might be on the floor, and it takes time, it takes metaphors, it takes sort of listening. You have to soothe the horse. You talk to the horse, and then the rider can get on. And it's something that I find a really nice metaphor for how we work as people. We are working as one, and we only work as one. We have the horse and we have the rider. And if I think of Scrum, it's a combination of the rider and the horse. We have our values, which sit deep within our horse, and then we have our logic, our empiricism that sits on top. And the combination of those two things only make it possible. It means that we're human, and it enables us to be who we are. But yeah, always think of your horse and think of other people's horses and what needs to happen, or what could happen. So another, again, 1875, Jung talks about shadow and projection, which again is a fascinating concept. So everyone's shadow carries a shadow. It's the thing within you that's sort of the darkness, and it might not be the negative, it's the stuff that you can't see, the invisible, the things that you are not aware of yourself. And Jung suggests the brighter the light, the bigger the sort of the personality, the darker the shadow. And again, you see this in politics. You see kind of really very large, boisterous characters, and they cast a huge shadow, and that's the projection. And the projection is the darkness that they don't see within themselves. So the things that are not known of yourself is the things you project onto everyone around you. And you think all the other people are doing the things, but it's the things you can't see within your own sort of self. And Jung talks about shadow work, getting to understand yourself, getting to understand who you are and the things that you don't know of yourself. And that's self-awareness. And by understanding our self-awareness, by understanding, getting to know your shadow, getting to know that the sort of the weaknesses or the other side of those things that we're good at, the things that sort of we're not aware of, we then are less likely to project what we don't know of ourselves onto others. If you think others are doing things to you, maybe it's your own shadow. Maybe some kind of self-reflection is a useful thing. But again, I find it interesting, and it's, again, this stuff is really old. This stuff is sort of written about for a long time. And as Agile coaches, we're not really thinking about this at all. But it's interesting. I find it really interesting that all of this has been written over almost 100 years ago, over 100 years ago. So yeah, the next thing is, and the other model, another thing I found on my little travels into psychology and just exploring and Googling around, was something called transactional analysis. And I don't know whether anyone's heard of the term "my inner child." Has anyone heard of that? Isaac's nodding. Yeah, so inner child, it's your child within you. And Eric Berne, in the late 50s, noticed that when he was working with people, they would often appear as different people, and his ideas were based on the ideas of Freud. But instead of personalities, he noticed patterns, and his theory says that in transactional analysis, we have this beautiful model he has. We have an adult, which is the logical, and I would almost say in Scrum terms, it's empirical. It's our this is how it is. And then, but we're actually three things within us. We have a parent ego state, we have an adult ego state, and a child ego state. Our parent ego state is is sort of learnt up to about the age of 5, and it's a copy or it's a replica of what we've seen our parents and people who are parents around us. And our child ego state, again, is what we learn up to the age of 5. And then these three things work in sort of together. And it's amazing because I see my kids playing these games, jumping from parent, jumping to adult, jumping to child. So I'll try and break these down, and maybe it'll sort of explain it a bit more. One more last thing. So if our brain has a parent, an adult, and a child, our parents also have a parent, an adult, and a child. So this is hierarchical. So you've got generations of circles coming down, and this is how culture, this is how your family kind of culture gets passed through the generations. You learn culture, and you pass it on to your children with how you sort of interact. But I'll break it down a bit more. So our controlling parent is constructive, organizing, and firm, but when it goes too far, it's autocratic, fault-finding, and dismissive. Our adapted child is accommodating, sharing, cooperative, but when it goes too far, it's fearful, rebellious, and compliant. And our nurturing parent is supportive, compassionate, and caring, but when it goes too far, it's smothering, invasive, and overprotective. And our free child is creative, curious, and playful. When it goes too far, it's egocentrical, wild, and inconsiderate. So you can see how all of these are sort of integrated. We kind of have them in the integrated adult, and we use these, but when we go too far, it sort of causes problems. Byrne also talks about transactions and strokes and cross transactions. He has an interesting observation that when someone enters a parent state, it often forces the other people into a child state. And I'm very conscious that we're doing this now. So by teaching, and again, you see it in Scrum teams, by teaching and telling, people move to a child state. They become their inner child. And that's kind of cross communication. That's a cross transaction. Nothing happens when transactions are crossed. What we want is logical adult conversations or straight transactions. But often we have cross transactions where someone's acting as a parent, and that's on the nurturing side or the controlling side, and then people are acting as children, or a child triggers people to act as a parent. And so often we're not in our empirical state. We are jumping between these, and our transactions and the strokes between them are sort of bouncing all over the place. So, and yeah, and an adult is logical. So I'm going to give some words here. So here are some words. So whenever we're in these emotions or these states, we're probably in one of these different ego states, and we jump between ego states. And again, in teams, you see different people jumping between ego states when people are having conversations. So again, our nurturing parent wants to encourage and comfort others. Our controlling parent is negative and judges us harshly and is firm and likes to organize things. Our adult approaches life rationally so it can make the best choices. Our free child is emotional, creative, enjoys being alive, but it can be wild and inconsiderate. And our adaptive child overreacts from fear of being judged, punished, or humiliates and complies. So again, for everything we do in teams, we need our controlling parent to organize ourselves, organize what we're doing. If we didn't have it, no, we wouldn't do anything. We need our nurturing parent to care and look after others and work with others and be a caring person. To be a team member, we need to be an adapted child. We need to sort of take that sharing, cooperative, accommodating position. And we need to create stuff. Yeah, this is kind of what we're doing. We need to be creative, we need to be curious, we need to be playful. But so often moving to a different ego state is pushing other people out of those ego states, and we end up with these cross communications. So Franklin Ernst studied under Byrne, and he came up with this interesting thing called the Oko Corral, which describes your general life position. So if you think of your three circles in your head, that's kind of produced sort of an outlook on life and how you exist in life. And when we talk to coaches, when we talk to therapists or anything, it was said to me, someone said on Twitter actually, therapy, coaching, support, anything, it's about helping people see that they're okay and everyone else is okay and everything's cool and it's all fine. Everything's okay. I'm okay and you're okay. It's a healthy position, yeah? And most people, it's good to be in that place, and it's just helping people see that everything's good. And it's okay, but it's also okay not to be okay. But if this okay corral is a way of measuring yourself or seeing which square you are to try and help you understand as an individual what your general life position is, and I'll talk a bit about these squares. So if I'm okay and you're okay, generally it's a healthy position. I get on with life, I'm happy with things, everything's cool, and it's all good. If I'm not okay and you're okay, or other people are generally okay, it's a one down position. So I'm sort of, I'm not okay, but everyone's okay. I need to get away from everyone else. If I'm okay and you're not okay, I'm a one-up position, yeah? I'm better than everyone else. And I need to get rid of things, I'm angry at things, but I'm better than everyone else. And then we've got this hopeless position. I'm not okay. No one else is okay. It's, oh my God, it's all going like that. But that's a get nowhere with everything else. And it's like, you're not going anywhere and nothing's happening. Nothing's ever right. So have a think, maybe have a think about which square you fall into, the languages, the words you say, the things you are, and sort of which square do you sit in generally? Yeah, where do you sit? So we're jumping over these really, really quickly. So off the back of Transactional, Ashes, Byrne, and Franklin, and this is a big one, this is popular, this is all over YouTube. There's a thing called the drama triangle. So up to the age of 5, we learned a script. We learned a life position and a script of how to get what we want to do, the strategies that work for us with our parents and our carers to get what we need. And Byrne describes, and then we carry on playing through the rest of our life. We just take that and we run with it, and we go, that's what we need to do, and we keep on playing those games. And Byrne describes 36 different games in his book, which play out, and we play on repeat over and over and over again. Some of these books are Please Don't Kick Me. So that's a game where someone's complaining about others hurting. See What You Made Me Do. That's a game where someone is often telling other people that they're making them do things. Or You Two Fight Over Me. And these games, there's 36 games in total, they sit within a rescue triangle. And it's worth saying that these positions are inauthentic. So they sit within this triangle. So how it works is the persecutor generally in a rescue trial says, you are wrong. This is not the right behavior. This is not right. This isn't how it should be. And the victim goes, oh no, it's not good. It's bad, 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 bad. I'm the victim. And then a rescuer, and this is interesting for coaching, a rescuer comes in and rescues the victim and sort of supports and helps the victim, and then often flips to a persecutor mode and then persecutes the persecutor and says, no, naughty persecutor, you're the victim for doing it wrong. And the whole triangle turns around and we go around in circles. And it's a game. It's inauthentic. But it's interesting that sort of this triangle maintains the status quo. People take these positions and they jump between the positions, and it creates drama. It's like a soap. People are not focusing on the outcomes of what we're doing. We're focusing on the drama of the situation. And the way you can spot a drama triangle, these happen all the time. It's just a natural thing. It's human nature. But if it's happening all the time, the way you can spot if it's happening is if people flip positions. If a rescuer becomes a persecutor, a victim becomes a rescuer. If people are jumping between different positions on the triangle, then it's a drama and it's a game. It's not real. It's sort of inauthentic. And again, another thing that's worth saying on the drama triangle is all positions are not okay. So the persecutor, probably not okay. but is not okay with other people. The victim is not okay because they're being persecuted, and they're not okay with the other person persecuting them. Interestingly, the rescuer is probably not okay. They get their power from rescuing. So they quite like the idea of victims. They want victims. So they want to come into rescue because their script, their life script is to come into rescue and support and work with others and take them forwards. But they don't want that person necessarily to be a success. They want to continue the rescue. Because if they can't rescue, then they're not a rescuer anymore. But the adult is, I'm okay, you're okay. So we jump through these different roles. It's said that the quick way of fixing it is if everyone's okay with everyone. So if the rescuer is not rescuing, if the rescuer is okay with themselves and okay with other people, they're not rescuing, they're coaching because they see life as whole, they see life as full. The victim is already a success. They're okay with themselves, they're happy, they're okay with other people. The coach is maybe coaching them, and the persecutor is challenging. And the persecutor is saying, well, I think you can do better. They're not thinking someone's wrong. And they're not saying, they don't see the world as broken. They don't see people as wrong or not okay. They see everyone as okay. So if we turn the triangle upside down, and if everyone magically thought everyone else was okay in the current situation, we wouldn't have any dramas, and we'd be focusing and working more as adults and using our integrated sort of parents and child states within our integrated adult. It's interesting because you do see, once you see some of the transactional analysis stuff, you do see some of these things, and it reminds you, oh my God, these are the things that I'm seeing every few days. I'm seeing these bouncing around, and here it is documented in the 70s, but we're not really aware of it in the Agile community, which is a shame, I think. So here's a fun exercise. So I'm saying that maybe we can see things in our office life. Maybe we see games in play. So what I'd like us to do is to break into, again, those groups, 3 or 4, maybe a bit bigger, and discuss games. And remember, a game has a persecutor, it has a victim, which could be one or more people, and it has one or more rescuers. And people flip positions. So an example of a game might be the architecture's not good enough. That's a good game, isn't it? So something like that. So what I would like us to do is think about what we're doing on a day-by-day basis. Let's keep it within work. Break into groups 3 or 4, discuss the rescue triangle and what we've just seen. And if we can identify a couple of games and give them names and throw them on a Jamboard, that'd be cool. And then we'll come back and see what we come up with. How's that sound?
John, about how long would you like to go for this? I'll go ahead and set a timer this time so we all come back at the same time.
For less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes? Okay, we'll just let's just throw 5 on there. All right, we're going to open up the rooms and everyone's going to head back into their rooms and have this exercise. Here we go. All right, if you're still with me here in the room, we sent everybody to their breakout rooms. So you should be able to jump over to the breakout rooms. They'll be there for 5 minutes. If you need help moving your room, I'm happy to help you do that. Oh, this is great. That's a game. Oh my, these games are great. Just in case you're just listening, not able to go into the breakout rooms, the 4 that are up there right now, the too busy to plan game, not enough time for testing properly game, we've never worked that way game, and the high security SOX limitation game. Oh, it's a lot of games right there. Everybody should be back in just a few minutes. Yep, 2 minutes left until everybody comes back. 2 minutes. One minute left. 1 minute left. Everybody's gonna come right back. Oh, these are good games. These are good games. Ten seconds. And everybody should be coming back. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, breakout rooms will close in 60 seconds. Oh. That's good to know. When you close breakout rooms, it still gives them a 1 minute warning. All right, all gathering back. Welcome back, everyone. Good stuff, good stuff.
How was that? Any observations?
Well, Steve had a great game. It's the too busy to plan game.
How does that game go?
Well, you shoot your gun, you aim, and then you load. I think is how it goes. Something like that.
And what's the purpose of that game?
I think really the premise is that there's a program director who is interested in fighting a fire that's out of control, recognizing that, or the perception is that the entire team is surrounded by flames, and they just need to fight the fire. It's just too. There's no planning necessary. It's just so big. You just have to go fight the fire.
You have to go fight the fire. so if the game is to maintain the status quo, drama kind of, why are we playing this game?
Some people like to be firefighters. It's the
Some people
cavalry.
like some people like to be firefighters. Interesting. Cool.
They do. Some people like to be the cavalry that comes in and puts out the fire. Saves the day.
Save the day on my on my white horse type thing.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, in the monthly newsletter, they congratulate the people who put out the fires. Why wouldn't I want my name in the newsletter?
Good one.
But again, yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you want your name in the, exactly? Get my name. There's another game. Get my name in the newsletter. But yeah, again, the game is, the interesting thing I find about games is they're inauthentic, and we play games all the time, but they're inauthentic, and they have these three roles in. But what's the thing that it's protecting? What's the status quo? What's the thing that's, because by playing games, we're not focusing on the empirical stuff, we're focusing on the game playing, and the game is maybe cover for something else. Any other observations or things from anyone else? That was cool. I'll move on then. Thank you, everyone. Can you see my screen? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is the second talk. so this is the actual talk that I did. My mate then said, oh, there's something else. And I dived into those models and learned all those little bits and pieces. So this is the second talk, which is where have all the settlers gone? And this one, yeah, it's back to the beach. Over the years, I've been discussing and thinking, why? Every organization I go into, things tend to be the same but different. Things are always very similar but different. We're doing transformations, we're working with teams, but we're seeing echoes of the same sort of things. And we're going in and we're working with teams, and they're very similar things that we've had before. And why are things often the same but different in organizations and enterprises? And I am saying organizations, enterprises, happens in smaller organizations as well. And I've been pondering and thinking about this for many, many years. Like, why am I going in and coaching and working with so many companies and just doing the same thing again and again and again? Why is it the same thing, the same but different? So lean and agile, Scrum, amazing, agile, Kanban, that seems to do it. Knevin, Wardley, human psychology. And then I thought I was chatting to a friend, and I thought, this is it. I know what it is. And I Googled it, and a bloke called Tom Graves had come up with a blog post. So this bit of the talk is linking in a bit into his talk on Wardley mapping, where I go a little bit further. So, here we go. So this is the game. I think this is the game. So we have pioneers, settlers, and town planners in our organization. Simon Wardley famously says, everyone's awesome. We need all of these people in our organization. We have the pioneers who deal with rare, poorly understand, differential, and novel, happy with failure, gambling and gut feel. Settlers, growing, listening to customers, market analysis, trend spotting. And then we have town planners, common, well-defined, essential cost of doing business, operational efficiency, metric-driven, scientific modeling. And we need all of these people in our organizations to be successful, yeah? So in Wardley, we have Wardley Evolution, where we start from Genesis, custom build products, commodity and utility. There's the diffusions of innovation theory, which is Everett, which is very similar, where we have innovators, early adopters, early majority, then we have late majority, and then we have the laggards. So we have this tailing off of stuff. We grow, and then it tails off, and we're entering the final stages of things. So this is the game. This is the game. You are a large enterprise, huge enterprise, yeah? And you're here. You're in a board meeting, It's a lot of town planners within that organization. And you've got little upstarts coming along and you go, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And you probably call a very large kind of consultancy, and that consultancy charge you lots of money and they send lots of people in. And they say, aha, you're a large organization. What you need is an agile transformation. That's going to fix you. That's going to sort everything out. Agile, bring on the agile transformation. So you have one of two options. So you can have a digital innovation hub, or you can have water agile. So it's the agile transformation. Either you keep everything the same and you just put a sort of a thin sheen of agile on top of it, but nothing necessarily changes, or you have a sort of startup in a cool sort of city center location, and you do all your innovation work over here, and you keep the rest of the organization the same. I think in both of these models, you have drama. In this model, you have coaches, you have people coming into the organization, and the rest of the organization's as it is, and there's lots of frustration, and there's lots of success, but ultimately there's drama, and there's rescuers and persecutors and victims, and it's kind of maintaining the status quo. Or in this mode, you have a little startup within the organization that's doing some stuff, and they're trying to get things live, get things working, and get things pushed into the larger organization, and they're sort of being held back, and they've got drama around this organization and folks in here, and these folks are going, well, why are we giving you folks all the money? Because we're happy doing our things. In both of these states, I think we've probably got a drama triangle that sits across the organization, and the drama triangle's purpose is to maintain the status quo. So the purpose of the drama triangle is to keep everyone within their jobs here or here. And then the added benefit, we have coaches, and we have change agents, and we have contractors and people working in these sections, and it's good for them as well. And nothing's really changing. We're maybe making some improvements, but everyone's focusing on the drama of the situation. We're not necessarily focusing on the actual outcomes of what we want to achieve. It's the same but different. Status quo is maintained. So I've got a question to you guys, and this is mine and Tom's, I suppose, theory, but in that situation, within that large organization, where are the settlers?
They've left.
Why, Heidi?
Well, it's a large organization, so probably they wanted to do other things in the meantime. So they've just gone disgruntled with the organization and gone to greener pastures, so to speak.
Okay.
Just curious what you've seen.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Any other thoughts, observations from anyone else? Maybe some people disagree with this. Maybe they don't see this.
Sometimes they'll just find themselves another role, or they'll move into town planning or exploiting.
So they pick a side.
They pick a side. They pick a side. They don't want to leave, so they just pick a side and move into that.
They move away from the middle ground. They move from a settler, so they go to pioneer or they go to town planner, and they vacate the middle ground. Yep. Okay. Any other observations? Okay, cool. So so what can we do? So that I've sort of gone over a few things, and I've sort of tried to explain a couple of models, but what do you think we can do about this? Can we do anything? What can we do?
John, you're assuming that something needs to be done.
Ooh, that's a good one, Mike. What do you mean by that?
It's quite a rescuing position.
Interesting.
I mean, for example, I think it was Buckminster Fuller said, if you want to change something, don't fight it, make it irrelevant. So it depends.
It depends. Great Agile answer. Any other thoughts? Cool. Okay, so I've got some ideas of what we can do, but yes, I agree. It's a bit of a rescuer position, that. Yeah, so I think back to that ebb and flow, I think over the years, I still try and do this, but I still challenge myself with it. We need everyone in our organization. We need to find common ground. It's not about me being on the beach or me being in the sea. It's not about me being right or me being wrong. It's about finding the common ground with all the folks in our organization. And to do that, perhaps your way, perhaps the way that you're attached to yourself, common sense is not so common, isn't the right thing for this situation. So be it Agile, Lean, Waterfall, Six Sigma, or anything that you sort of have an opinion, or I have an opinion, or some other folk has an opinion on, maybe that's not the right thing. It's not that's at a high level. Maybe at a small level, it's not about the thing. It's not about that outcome. It's about stepping back. And then back to the kind of the beach and the ebb and flow, empathy, and how does it feel for the other person? Because I know when I started doing the Agile stuff a long time ago, it felt really bad to be in the water. It didn't feel great. And I wondered how other folk are feeling in organizations. And if you have different people with different opinions and different sort of entrenched positions, how can we have empathy for all of the people within our organization? How can we work with all our people? So trying to see the world from others' points of view, trying to see all points of view is part of that, trying to put yourself in other people's models. Back to the ride on the horse. And this is why I find really interesting on myself. So if I'm ever angry or upset or worked up, then it's a sign that I have fallen off my horse, and my logical has sort of fallen off the horse, and my horse is bounding around, bouncing all over the place. So what is it that's triggered me? What's the thing that's causing me? What's surprising me about the situation, or my model of the situation, and what can I understand about my own model before jumping on to other people's models? And maybe I have a coaching conversation with a friend and try and understand where I'm feeling, or maybe I do some self-reflection and try and understand what I'm thinking about the situation. So I kind of use it as a thing to try and measure myself now. So yeah, as part of that, whatever, just relaxing, not worrying about things, relaxing, stepping back to the situation. And when you're relaxed and you step back, you can search for personal balance. You can search for balance within yourself, understand your shadow, understand who you are and the things that you don't know of yourself. And when you've got that, or some of that balance, and I think this is probably something for a lifetime's work to understand yourself and who you are and how you are. And as you're doing that, you stand a better chance of finding balance with the people around you, because you know yourself. Your shadow is not as big, and you're not projecting out as much. Back to Mike's question again. This is a comment on the rescuing, and I think this is fascinating. I think avoiding rescue. So in the drama triangle exists because of rescuers. And rescuers rescue because they don't look at themselves. And talking to coaches have very similar backstories. We want to come and help, we want to support, but you can get stuck in a rescue trap. You can get addicted to rescue, you can get addicted to coming in on that riding horse. And avoiding rescue, stepping back and not rescuing, and just letting it flow, and letting it flow to avoid not being in that drama is really important, I think. And I think in therapy, there's a concept of, I forget, there's a kind of coaching where you work with others to understand how you are. So you're coaching with others, or you're doing therapy with yourself to understand yourself, to stop yourself going down the wrong traps. And I think maybe Scrum Masters, it's useful to have COPs and having coaching sessions with other folks just to check yourself and understand where you are. And I really appreciate the coaching sessions I have with some of my friends, helps me stay in balance and stops me, reduces my chance of rescuing, because it's so easy to do. And again, that rescuing, it's about a point of rescuing. You're coming from a position where you don't think others are okay. I think a point of coaching is where you assume good intent and you assume all others are okay in their situation. They don't need rescuing. You're coming in and you're available, but you're coaching and you're not rescuing. So if you're doing all of those things, you're probably in a good position to avoid imposter syndrome, because you probably know where you are, and you can actually determine where the imposter syndrome ends and the actual imposter exists. You have a clearer view, you have a more empirical view of things. And if you can do that, if you're empirical and you're seeing these things, then you can probably see the roles that people are taking, and you can see the games that are in play, and you can observe those things without rescuing. And you can see what's happening. I'm going to finish with a quote. So I showed this to a friend, this deck to a friend, and he said, Zig Ziglar. And I said, who? And he said, American author salesman. And the quote is, you can get everything in life that you want if you just help other people get what they want. I put it on this deck and it felt a bit rescuey. That's not right. So I've added a little on the end. As long as you're okay with them, you're not rescuing them, and you're okay with yourself. So that's my talk on Where Are the Settlers, and my little dive into some psychological models. I got some books on the right that, not mine, the ones I found interesting that I've read that sort of helped inspire this talk, and some of my contact details on the left. Yeah, reach out. Any questions?
Wow. Yeah, let's just pause for a second for any questions. You can either put them in the chat or you can unmute and ask a question. We have a few more minutes here. Thank you for all those who stayed with us with this slightly extended section, but I'll save my awe at this talk for the end when I close this up. But any questions, anybody that they want to ask? Cool. John,
Someone
that
was
just means...
asking about bias.
Go ahead, Heidi. Yeah.
Yeah, someone was asking about bias, and I was trying to find out more about bias. So it was, does bias have a big role? And I'm not sure what it was being referred to. So if you want to speak up about your question, that'd be awesome.
Can I say as well, I'm just a Scrum Master. I'm a Scrum Master that's dipped into this. And there's an awful lot of very kind of amazing people in this group. And yeah, I won't be able to answer questions, but maybe as a group we can answer questions.
Thanks, John. Yeah, what about bias? The person with the question want to speak up?
I think the context may have been when John was talking about the different frameworks, whether they're Agile or Lean or Six Sigma, and how people can get really bought into their own framework and everything else is wrong. So I think that's when you were talking about that, maybe.
Well, he's trying to unmute himself anyway.
Oh, okay.
So, hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was the one that asked about bias. It was about when it was sensing about trying to get everyone to, trying to listen to everyone else, like within drama triangle. And that what came to my mind then was, if you believe that something like, like, let's say in Scrum or anything you're doing in life, like in my line of job, I'm a scientist. You saw something that's, I believe this principle works best, and trying to share with others. Does it have, where would I fall into that drama triangle?
So let me try and replay it. So you're saying that sort of, where would you fall? It's difficult to know because it depends, I guess. Really difficult to know where you'd fall into the thing. The only way you could determine it is by stepping back and trying to understand sort of whether you are coming in to help someone or rescue someone, whether you're telling someone they're wrong, or whether you are being accused of being wrong. I think the interesting thing with the drama triangle, so that puts you in one of those roles. But the interesting thing with the drama triangle, it's not necessarily the drama triangle, it's the game that it's covering up. It's inauthentic. You are in a drama triangle if you jump between roles. So you are a rescuer, then you become a persecutor, then you become a victim, and you jump between the roles. So I think one way of spotting if you're in a drama triangle is if for a moment you're sat around a kind of, or talking around a water cooler, and you are sort of saying things about someone else, and then someone's saying things about you. It's that bouncing around, and you can spot it. Thank you.
John, as well, it's knowing that this exists can be useful if you're looking to take a gig and you can realize that you're being set up to be on the drama triangle. You know, we're going to get John in and he's going to tell us what to do.
Yes.
You know, or, you know, many other ways, or, you know, yeah. So you can find that a lot of consultants are brought in so that when they leave, they can be blamed. You know,
interesting.
So this is quite useful. This is quite useful for you know, the useful thing we did of actually, you know, having words for games. When you've got a word for something, you can spot it. If you haven't got a word for something, you know, it's probably going to pass you by when it happens. So a lot of what these things allow you to do is just be able to watch for things happening.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the awareness of these things is really, really valuable.
Yeah,
studying it is like a proper degree you can do, sort of, and there's all sorts of counselling courses and things you can do on it, but it's really, really, really deep, and the people use it for therapy. But I'm not advocating that as Scrum Masters we should even go near that. But having an awareness of these things is really valuable because you can then see what's happening, and you can also spot when you're falling into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, someone asks on the chat, is there an actionable item not to do the drama triangle? And on your book on screen, the From Contempt to Curiosity,
yes,
is a book that does that, but it's a full book and it's many years work. But one of I don't think it's in the book, but one of the phrases that the author uses is, you know, whatever people are doing right now is the best thing that they could be doing given their context.
Yes.
And by taking that stance, you can stay off drama with them.
Yes. Yes, yeah, and it's incredibly self-reflective, but it's about from contempt to curiosity in yourself, not having contempt for others and moving to a position of curiosity. An incredible book to listen to or read. But I think the interesting thing, it's about the shadow. You could, if you tell someone you need to move from contempt to curiosity, if you tell a load of other coaches, you are in drama because you are victimizing because you think they're wrong. So it's incredibly self-reflective, and I'm really nervous about saying these things because people have to go on their own journey. It's that discovery of your own thing, but it's about moving that position of where you think other people are wrong or you're in contempt of others, and you move to a position of being curious about all others in all situations.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've learned in coaching is that people have to want to be coached or even be coachable. You know, I mean, so you go into an engagement, and if people are not coachable, I mean, what do you do? I mean, because if you're in a consulting situation, you're expected to, then what's your recourse?
And there's a difference too to being coachable and being expecting a rescue, right? Just what you were saying, Mike, about like you can listen to the language, and so don't mistake come in and fix us, right, for I'm coachable, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between those.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. People don't want coaching, and they don't want rescuing, but then some people do want rescuing and they don't want coaching.
Right.
So something I've tried to do is as opposed to pushing any sort of framework or anything upon people, because we as humans naturally resist anything that somebody tells us to do, and we're seeing it all weekend, right? So I try to use the analogy of trying to pull people in, trying to pull people along, and it's, if you're into an engagement, identify who might be the person most apt to come along with it, and start working with them. And if you can get enough of them, they might be able to help and start pulling also, and bringing others along into the group. Some are going to take longer than others, and it's just the nature of where they're at that time. It's seeing people where they're at, right? And where are they? Yeah. It's the empathy part of that. So if we can work to pull people along and get them to start working in, we can't get them to do all 27 things at once, but can we get them started on a couple of things? And sooner or later we'll start moving them along. Eventually you're going to have a group of people who are all in different places, all working towards the same goal. Some are going to have strengths in one area and some with strengths in others, and sometimes maybe that's the best we can hope for. But I like the analogy of pulling people along, pulling them along. Some will actually give in and come along then. So.
Yeah, I think Laurie's question's very interesting, and thanks, Russ. Yeah, I think you're right on the pulling, but I also think Laurie's question is incredibly fascinating. If someone doesn't want to be coached, yeah, and someone's telling, I had a friend who they implemented in their organization that we're going to basically tell everyone to do peer coaching at the water coolers for everyone. So everyone goes around the organization randomly coaching each other. It's like, hi, it's not the thing. People just don't want these things. But it's very fascinating if you're brought in to coach a team, and a team, who kind of, what's the contracting, kind of what gives us the right to sort of come in and do that? We might be paid to come in and coach, but they're not asking for it. They don't want it.
I think that's a dilemma with agile coaching that hasn't yet been resolved.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it's a growing problem because of all of the bad implementations that have been out there, people have been exposed to.
I think Dan Mezik's, the engagement model and invitation-based coaching. If people don't want to go agile, mm-hmm. You're being brought in to make them agile.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not an agile coach, so I can ask these questions, and it doesn't affect my job.
But that happens all the time.
Yeah, and I think it was Ron Jeffries who wrote the blog post about how he would impose agile, which is, basically share the goal. Like, I expect, working software every 2 weeks. I expect you to be using this and this, and kind of make it more outcome based and goal based. But still, I guess to your point, right? What are we calling them? I did ask Dan that question, by the way. If we're imposing a goal, saying I want working software, is that imposition, or is that, like, what do you call that? So I mean, it's obviously a really tangled question, but I think, well, this was great. I really enjoyed the session and just exploring these things.
I think it's this. It's maybe our way. Maybe agile isn't the way. Maybe this isn't this situation. It's understanding other people's situation and not forcing on things. I think in one-on-one coaching we have, and I do a little bit of it, but we have like contracting, where you agree with a individual what the contract is and what they want kind of at the start, and you might recontract if they want a different outcome. I think team working agreements and finding out what teams really need and not forcing things, being really careful and sort of going through an OODA loop really slowly. So making observations and then orientating yourself with the team and then deciding and then acting. So going in really, really gentle, or using nonviolent communication. So find out what people need first before you to go in, because it's your model of the situation. And I think I think I love Scrum, I love Agile, I love Kanban, but they're just a few people's ideas, and I think they work very well. But who's to say? Do I have the right to impose what I think's right on someone else?
Well, and it goes right back to that "I'm okay, you're not okay" model, right? I mean, that's I so can relate to that, and I think as Agile coaches, we sometimes say, "Well, I've got the answer, and you don't, so here, let me just slap that on top of you, and you're good." When we've got to realize it's not as simple as just I'm okay, you're not okay, right? We can't be in that mode all the time.
Well, that's
at all.
That's a parent-child relationship, yeah. That's the TA. So that's a patriarchal position. It's the parent telling the children this is how you're going to act, and that's not coaching. That's not coaching at all.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, we got 5 minutes left. Anything else? If not, I will go ahead and post in the chat just an invitation to everybody. Visit coachingagilejourneys.com for our next session, which is Thursday. It's an open space, and we had such great conversation here. And so now I'm going to uncork the ideas that I had before. John, I am so thankful that you took the time to share these ideas with us. Obviously, this represented a lot of study and research and experience from you. And not only did you share that with us, which I had about 10 ahas as I was listening to you going, that's me. Oh, I should address that. And so I think that everyone else also got some great content out of this. And even for the way that you managed and used breakout rooms to encourage us to have conversation with each other. I just want to say thank you so much. You've been an excellent speaker, and more than that, a facilitator of these ideas for us. So thank you so much. And I know several people had to drop off, but on behalf of everyone who is here, just thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience and your journey with us. I know for me, it's enriched my journey, and I see a lot of praise as well in the chat and people giving thumbs ups as well. So thank you very much for taking the time. The recording is going to be available of the main session on our website, coachingagilejourneys.com. We'll get it up there. And for those of you who want more, we have the open space on Thursday. So thank you guys all for joining us and being a part of this session today. So John, again, our heartfelt thanks for sharing with us. It's been a great session.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Hey,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.